The entrepreneurial bug bit Themba from primary school, where he started selling peanuts from a matchbox. With ambitions to be a writer after school, he then became a journalist. In 2010, he left his job to follow his dreams, sending his life on a roller coaster to finding his purpose. These are their stories. Let's unpack. Noah, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Themba, and to you as well, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
What about you? What did you always want to do when you were a child?
With me, okay, it began with, what I was exposed to at the time. So you are exposed to being told you can be a doctor.
Yes. The typical things black kids get told.
Yes. So at the time when I was growing up, it was always either I'm going to be a lawyer but as I grew up, I started getting exposure to different careers and different stuff. That's when I started moving around. But I was bouncing up and down like a yo-yo because 1 minute I want to be an artist, like she's saying. The next minute I want to get into corporate and be an engineer. But eventually I found myself at a point where I started enjoying writing. And I saw that maybe one day I might go into that. Yeah, that's how it went.
And so, and on your side, what was the home setup? What was everybody doing and how did it influence you?
Okay, my dad was a laborer. He worked for a factory all his life. My mom, on the other hand, she was more on the entrepreneur side. So, when I was a kid, she used to sell jerseys. And the interesting thing is that she would measure people just by looking at them. She wouldn't have a tape measure. And I used to observe that and I was quite, sort of fascinated by it. But then she did a whole lot of things. She sold different things. And, so I had that experience of seeing my dad going to work and also seeing my mom just hustling for herself. Yeah.
So for you, I mean, you had a father who, laborer, believed in, hard work, showing up for a job. Come time for your matric and it being like, what are you doing next? What were your parents encouraging you to do and what did you decide to do?
Okay, my dad, because of that whole laborer thing, he was more exposed to, the engineers. Where he worked, there were engineers, and he saw how much they were earning.
Yes.
And they got like the best, packages in terms of salaries. They drove the nicest car. So it was just, for him, he was like, you need to be an engineer. You need to study physics and mathematics and be an engineer because you will have a better life than I've had. And with my mom unfortunately passed away when I was young. So I was raised by my dad. So he insisted on that. So by the time I got into matric, I was studying physics and mathematics, even though I didn't enjoy studying those things, but I just wanted to make him happy. But I realized that engineering is not for me. The thing that I'm really passionate about is more on the writing side. So that's when I decided. But actually, to be honest, at that time, I just wanted to get into business after matric. But because of the situation and the background that I come from, I had to make that decision to say, I have to make this man happy and go and study, journalism.
So was he happy with you choosing journalism considering he wanted you to be an engineer?
Okay, he didn't understand it, but it's a career that, it's a bit fancy, your name is going to be on the newspapers or you're going to be on TV or radio. So he wasn't, he wasn't against it. So he supported it, but ideally he felt that I should have gone that route.
Yes.
But either way, he just supported that decision.
So what happened after what happened during your studying journey? Because many people get to varsity, start to study the thing, and they're like, is this what this is about? I actually don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, even when I was at varsity, I was that kid that always thought of ideas of what can I sell?
Yes.
So I was always that kind, where are the opportunities? And whatever assignments we did, I always looked at an opportunity where I could do business. So I knew that even when I was studying, I knew that this is what I'm passionate about.
Hustling
and, building my own thing. And so going through that process just showed me or revealed to me that actually this is not for me as in doing it for life. It's something that I can do maybe for a short while, but actually this is what I love. I love really coming up with stuff, creating stuff, and then, selling it to people.
So you got through varsity, and I mean, we are facing such a massive crisis of graduates without jobs. Did you manage to get a first job?
No, when I got out, I still had that thing of I want to start my own business.
Yeah.
So within the first year after finishing varsity, I just wanted to start a business, and I did actually for a couple of months, and we had a fallout with my dad. Because
so
he
who
was
started the business?
I started the business.
With your dad?
No, just
your
by
own
myself,
business.
yes.
Okay.
And we just had a fallout because he was like, if you're gonna take this route after studying, then you might as well even leave my house, just go and do your own thing because you wanna do things your own way.
So what was the business?
At the time, it was a signage business. We were doing like signs for events. And I was also doing sound hire and all of those things. So at that time, so he was like against it. And that's when I decided maybe I should just go look for a job just to make him happy again.
Nothing like a little emotional blackmail.
Yeah.
Okay, so for you finally, dad has twisted your arm to getting a job.
Yeah.
What is the first job that you get? Is it as a journalist?
Yeah, as a journalist.
Yeah.
And, once I started as a journalist, it was a situation of I grew up in the townships. I wasn't exposed to a whole lot of things. And here's this job that takes you around the country.
Yeah.
You go interview interesting people. And I started enjoying it, actually. I was like, hey, this is fun because you get to hear different life stories. And, so I enjoyed it for a while until... it got to a point where I got a job at a magazine. And when it started being, what I loved about it, before I could get into that, what I loved about it is I felt like I was making some positive impact in the community. There was something, every time I'd written a story, there'd be somebody that will come back and say, that story impacted me this way and all of that. But after a while, when I moved into a magazine, we started writing more gossip stuff. And gossip stuff is more about bringing people down, finding stuff that's not, good. And I felt, this is not my calling, I really wanted to create or do something that will, help or serve somebody out there. And that's when that moment hit me, to say, actually, there was this thing that you had when you were growing up, that you wanted to do your own thing. And now look at you. You are writing, tabloid stuff about celebrities and it's stuff that you don't agree with.
Did you ever write about me?
Yeah, okay.
I want to say it.
Only good stuff. Only the good stuff.
So I'm curious about your relationship with your father.
Yes.
When you got the job, did you guys reunite?
Yeah, no, we had the best relationship because, hey, they were saying, we see your son is doing, you know how it is when you start getting praises and they say, your son is doing so well. We saw him here. I was reading a story and I saw his name. So we got back. The relationship was patched and everything went back to normal. So, but during that period, that's when it hit me that, you know what, I don't agree with this and I've got something bigger, something that I want to do for my community or for people other than this.
So I understand that there was an incident with your dad at a boss's house. What was that incident and what was the realization that you came to?
Okay, so, there's always those events. He had been there for years at the same company, so they give you awards.
Long service.
And they're like, bring your kids, so we can celebrate. And when I went, on that day, he told me a story. He was like, you see that guy that's giving us the awards, he's actually my boss. But actually, the story is that guy is the boss, the first guy that hired him. That was his son. So he knew the son when the son was very little and saw him grow up in front of his eyes to a point where now the father relinquished the the thing to the son to say, now take over. And I was like, okay, so my dad been working here for so long to a point where a kid is now his boss, he has to answer to him. And I thought, I've always wanted to build something myself, that could be passed on from one generation to another. And when I looked at my dad and I thought, that means if he lives here, he's not going to pass this thing on to me, and that's really, that day just, changed my life, because when I looked at that and when he told me the story, it was such an emotional thing, which, I've been working here for so long that now the boss's son is my boss. And I felt I just want to change that narrative.
And it's not even son, like child. Like
child.
Wow.
He has to take the instructions now from him.
Wow.
This is someone that he used to carry around and play with. And
Sure.
I said, no, this has to change.
So what was your next move after you are writing rubbish about celebrities?
It was a tough one because I'd gotten used to the life. I'd gotten used to the salary, So I decided I'm going to take the leap. It was tough because there was a lot of people that were dependent on me. We come from those situations where if you get a job, it's not just for you.
Yes.
There's that cousin that you are helping, your siblings, And so to take that decision was tough. But I felt either now or never. So
was the decision for you, like, did you have an exit strategy that was over a period of time to say, in this time, I'm going to save this much a month? Or were you like, hi, I'm done?
I was done. I was like, hey, I'm done. I'm done with this thing.
Okay, so you were done.
I don't have a plan that's really, solid, that's going to... I was like, okay, I have an idea what I'm going to do. Because at the time, I'd, had so many relationships. So I thought, I could get into PR. That would be easier. I'm a writer, and I've met so many people. I could do PR for artists, write, bios and all of that.
So after you wrote rubbish about them, you're like, can I be your publicist?
Because I know how it works.
Yes.
So I can spin it around for you,
Yes.
So that was like the easiest way out. So that's what the first thing that I did when I eventually resigned. I said it was easy. I was just going to capitalize on the relationships that I'd, had at the time. So that's the first thing I did.
And what was the next thing you did? And how did the PR thing end?
The PR thing, people get excited in the first month. They're all telling you, we're going to give you the jobs, the contracts. Don't worry, we got you. You're quitting? Fine, don't worry. And then 6 months later, nobody's taking your call. And it just
You were stalking them.
So a couple of months later, I realized this is getting tough because, now I had these big dreams that this thing is going to be huge. I'm going to have this agency, that has all of these contracts. But a year into it, it just got tougher and tougher. I had a partner, I had a car, I had a place to stay. And then a year went by, second year went by, all of it was gone.
So you were just left with what?
With the ideas.
And dreams.
And dreams.
Ideas and dreams. At least you had something.
Yeah, the partner was gone.
We can laugh about it now, but there are people who literally lose everything chasing their dreams.
Yes, I was one of them. I lost everything, And
I just want to know if the girlfriend left after the money or before.
No, just when it was now getting finished, when you could count, you could say, okay, these are the last couple of rands here. So this is now...
She left with the last rand.
Yeah, let me just take flight. So you could tell, look at now, it's tough. So when she left, I think it was a year after I quit my job. So by the second year, I was like, I'm going back. This is tough. I never thought this was going to be this tough. I took my CV, dusted my CV, started calling the editors, hey, give me the job back.
Yes.
And they gave me the job back at the magazine. But it was like, the best way to put it was like, when you've had a relationship with somebody and then you broke up, and then you see them after a couple of years and they're looking nice, and you're like, oh my goodness, what happened? We should reconnect. But when you reconnect, you realize why you left in the first place.
You're reminded.
You're reminded, Ute, the reason I left this job was because of 1, 2, 3. So I just went back. I think I worked for like 6 months, and then I was like, no.
So did you quit with a plan, or again you quit without a plan?
This time I said I'm going to go into it with that mentality of find something to sell, buy for a rent, sell for two.
Yes.
Because I could see the whole contract thing was not sustainable for me. So this time the plan was different. I was like, I'm going to do it differently. I want something that's going to give me cash flow, that's going to give me sustainability. So yes, there was a plan, you know, but everybody has a plan until you implement it. And, you know, so I went out and I started again. So
what was your first thing that you were doing, the first business you did?
The first business I did was a signage business.
So you went back to the
signage, yeah. So I started doing signage. Actually, the business was very interesting. I was doing house numbers, and I was selling house numbers to, you know, households in the townships. And I would meet so many people that knew me from the journalism days. They were like, "Dude, are you crazy? So you left
this prestigious,
that prestigious job to sell us house numbers? What's wrong with you?" So I was doing that for a while, but it taught me a lot of things because it taught me to, you know, to deal with different kinds of people. So that was the first business that I did.
And what were the subsequent business? Because you dabbled in a few things.
Yeah, quite a couple. And you know what happens? When you get out, you start thinking, I just need something that will make money. You know, it stops being about purpose, it stops being about serving, and I'm so glad I went through that process, and afterwards I learned my lessons that I have to get back to purpose and serving. But during that period, it was about what can make me money. If somebody says to you, hey, you know, if you can sell some flowers, it's gonna make you money. If you can sell cars, if you can sell, so it was that type of vibe.
Why do I feel like you started a pyramid scheme as one of your businesses?
You know, when you are in it, you start looking at everything. You know, you meet people telling you shortcuts, because there's a lot of people that are selling shortcuts. Hey, if you can do this, you can get to $1 million quicker. So I did a lot of businesses before I got back to, you know, understanding that this is not about money, you know, as such. It's about purpose. What is my purpose and how am I going to serve people with it? So, but before that, I did a lot of stuff. So
on your side, in terms of your business, seeing as you tried everything, including the pyramid scheme, what did you land on?
So, because of the PR business that I'd done in the beginning, I still had like connections, and so I would get like a job from like a PR job now and again. So it happened that one time I got this PR job, like it was a big one. It was for the Mandela family.
Yes.
There was a wedding and they needed somebody to do the PR. And I just got a call randomly. Somebody recommended me. And through that process, I needed sponsors, and I happened to call on this one guy, you know, and this guy, you know, I spoke to, and he said to me, you know what, I think you've got so much potential. But he was in the tombstone business, tombstone manufacturing. So he's like, I want to sponsor this whole PR exercise that you're doing, but afterwards, I would like us to work together. And, you know, he's the late Relebogile, you know, his company called Bataung, and, you know, and so that relationship led to a lot of breakthroughs in my life because of him, I realized then when I met with him that the reason why I was bumping against so many walls was because I didn't have a mentor. You need somebody that has walked the road. Like she was saying, you know, you need somebody that knows the game better than you.
Yes.
So he was that somebody. He taught me everything that I'm using now in terms of business. So I spent like 4 years with him, working with him, and
in the business
death. Yes, in the business of death. Actually, we call it the real estate of the cemetery. We're in the real estate, which is building. So in that business, I learned a lot, and he introduced me to so many people. But after I spent those couple of years with him, I decided I felt it was time to start my own because I learned from him and how to do it. That's when I got into the tombstone business. And that's actually the first business that really, started giving me some money, to make.
Death is big in this country. Anyway. Yeah.
So when I got into that business, you know, I knew what to do. Unlike with these other businesses, I was struggling, I was testing things, trying out this. But with that business, I knew exactly this is what you do, this is where you go, and this is how you market it. So that's the first business that gave me a breakthrough.
And then why the sneaker business?
Okay, so if you listen to my story, I'm the kind of guy that if I think of something, I just go for it. You know, if it comes to my mind and I think, you know, I want to do this, I just go for it. And I realized that it's something that has been a theme in my life from a young age. You know, if I thought about, let me be a DJ, like next week, I'm I'm there, you know? So I'm that guy. So I felt, you know, and there was a lot of people that look at me and say, you're so brave, you know, you're so brave. And then coupled that with the love that I have for sneakers, I realized that whenever you go for something or wherever you go, you gotta wear shoes.
Yes.
So whatever dream that you approach, shoes are very important. They really, you know, contribute towards your confidence. I would realize that if I was wearing the right type of shoes, whatever dream that I had, I would really go for it.
You can walk in your
I can walk into my purples, you know.
With them shoes.
So them shoes are very important. If it's a so from that I connected the two things. I'm a go for it type of guy, and in order to go anywhere, you gotta put on the right shoes. And that just connected with me, that shoes take you everywhere. You know, why not create a shoe for dreamers, for people like me, you know, that go for it.
Yeah.
And that's when the shoe business came about, and I started the sneaker business where I started a sneaker called VAYA, which means go, and the tagline is go for it. So it's all about creating a product that will remind somebody to go for their dreams. Same as I have done with my life, you know, where it was against the odds. You know, I had a comfortable job, you know, that took me everywhere, that made me meet all these prominent people, but I still decided to just go for it. So I wanted a sneaker or a product that will represent that type of energy. And I realized that I could do it by speaking and telling people, or I could just transform that energy into a product where if they see that product, they could be reminded of that.
So, but I mean, both of your stories are absolutely amazing in the sense that while there's this traditional path, we're being told to follow the guaranteed path because you just need to get a job, you just need to pay your bills. Your passions kept gnawing at you to leave whatever you're doing traditionally to go and pursue your dreams. I mean, I love your spirit and energy that you think about something and you just go for it. For me, that's true entrepreneurial spirit. It's like, people need, I want to sell water. I'm gonna good for you in that. And for you being an artist, knowing that you didn't see people that looked like you, but you tried it anyways, and you happened to be at the right time, at the right place, with the right people on your side. What would you say the biggest lesson is that you take from your life journey to where you are now in regards to your career? What is the biggest lesson for you?
Hey, there's so many lessons in the entrepreneurial journey, but one thing that stands out when I think about it is, you know, God has placed something in everybody's heart, you know, and there's something that he placed in my heart, and I felt that, you know, whatever that has happened in my life, it has been just driving me towards that. And I don't regret even the job because I learned a lot of things and that I'm still using now. So, but I felt, Uti, you must just listen to your heart. You really have to listen to your heart and follow it and really just go for it, you know.
Guys, your stories are so beautiful, so inspiring, and I think more and more young people need to hear from people like yourselves because we are scared to jump. It is rough out there, from scraping by, we're not knocking at houses saying, don't you need a number? You know, I mean, it's real, but the fact that you were both willing to do whatever it takes to get to where you are, it's so admirable and just beautiful. And man, hashtag Black Excellence to the both of you. So thank you so much for coming through and chatting to us.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Hashtag Unpacked with Relebogile. It really is possible to do and be whoever you want to be. Don't be afraid. Take that leap of faith. And yes, our parents and the people around us are massive influences, but literally, you know, in your most quiet of moments, the very thing that you want to be doing, the very person that you want to be. So just go for it.